Hello and welcome again. Welcome always to Imago Spiritual Learning and Wellness. Continuing here in this video with the topic of what happens when your belief system falls apart, your world falls apart, and you enter into this spiritual crisis, which also becomes a crisis of identity and a sense of tremendous loss and abandonment. And as I stated before, there's really nothing that I can say or share that's going to be a light for you. You have to tap into your own inner self and look within for light, for understanding, for inner standing. Look within for the answers. But before we even get to any answers, because there's no need really to press for answers. What we need to do first, and this I can say, this I can share with you that I would absolutely recommend, is to sit in stillness and in silence and solitude. Sit in stillness, silence, and solitude. Because by doing so, we allow for the process to continue and to carry us forward. Even when it seems that everything is falling apart and we're falling apart and that nothing is moving forward. But if we allow ourselves to undergo the process and to be carried by the process, and there is a process involved, and we don't need to understand it to go through it successfully. However, understanding it and understanding will tremendously aid our process, and in that it will help us to go through it maybe with a bit more rationality, with a bit more intelligence, with a bit more understanding. And but to be able to, or to be willing to sit in stillness, in silence, and in solitude is absolutely crucial, and it's necessary. Without grasping for answers, or for any kind of aid or help, in the way of, say, I want to be careful here because I can't really say that. I was going to say we don't want to reach for books or watch interviews or videos or, for these kinds of things. I mean, if you feel compelled to do it, do it. I cannot say what your process ought to look like. Or to reach for the bottle, or to reach for a joint, or to reach for, perhaps for someone to hold on to, for a relationship to hold on to, for comfort, for encouragement. These can be a help and a blessing, perhaps. Sure. That your process is your process. We all have our individual process, but there ought to be some standard, if you will. But the standard is simply a space that allows for possibilities to emerge, and that space, again, is stillness, silence, and solitude. And that's not easy. It's not easy to allow ourselves to remain in stillness and silence and in solitude, because everything in modern living demands action, motion, demands answers, solutions, and demands that we get back into society as soon as possible, right? To remain in solitude for too long is It's not good for us, people say. Um, but who can say whether that is whether solitude or society is good or bad? There's a season for everything, and we have to allow for the seasons to pass through their courses and allow ourselves to accept the changing seasons and to adapt accordingly. And stillness and silence and solitude will allow for questions to arise. Questions are absolutely vital to this process because they are doorways, I believe, to possibilities of discovery and learning. And I wanted to share something with you. Again, I would point to sometimes, my mug here, which is empty today, but with the message "Be still and know," which is for me, that message is a mainstay. It's a real column of support for me personally and for this channel, and that's why I have it as my tagline on the banner on the channel banner. Um, and so, but to be still and know, I wanted to share this with you real quick. I want to make this as quick as possible so that we don't go on too long. And I'm looking at an online resource that I like to use um, that shows so that shows like biblical words and and they're cross-referenced with entries in the Strong's Concordance. Strong's Concordance is a Bible study reference where you can look up the original words, from the English translation. You can look up the original words in Hebrew in the Old Testament or Greek in the New Testament, and that can really shed some light on the meanings of words and the meanings of certain passages, and but ultimately, again, we are expressions of the way, the truth, and the life of and so books and words and Bibles and holy books, no matter what religion, no matter what belief system you may subscribe to, certainly are a help and can be a help and an aid, but they cannot be, for me, it cannot be the last word for me. And again, for many reasons, and I'm not dismissing the veracity to whatever degree that there might be veracity or validity to the Bible or to any holy book, Bhagavad Gita or the Quran or whatever. That's not the point here. The point is just simply that truth is everywhere. Right? It's not just contained in books and in words. Truth is found within. Truth is found in nature, or is expressed within and expressed in nature through nature, and is expressed in the heavens and in the stars and galaxies, and in the distant bodies that we see at night. Everything is to an expression of the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth, and our discovery of it, and our discoveries of these truths, of these realities, known and unknown, are dependent upon many things, and it's so unique for each one of us, in terms of our experiences and what we look to aid our learning and our evolving understanding of things. Okay, so anyway, maybe I went on too long with that, but I wanted to look at this online resource here, and so be still and know. To be still comes from the Hebrew word rafa, okay, and it can mean to fall, to weaken, and isn't that what we feel? Isn't that what we go through in our spiritual crisis when belief systems die for us, or the religion that we once adhered to, it just falls apart for us. It can also mean to faint, or to forsake, to cease, to sink down, to let drop, to be disheartened. To dishearten is to depress, and to ruin one's hopes. So that says a lot, doesn't it? So be still can also, that word rafa can also mean all these other things. It just depends on context, right? The way in which it's used in passages. But to go on with the meaning of rafa, other meanings of rafa, to let drop, to abandon, to refrain, to forsake. We may feel forsaken, or we may feel abandoned, or at the same time, we feel like we are ourselves abandoning our own belief systems, abandoning traditions, abandoning the teachings from our parents or from our church, abandoning our connection or relationship with Creator and with life. Rafa can also mean to be quiet, be still, be quiet, right? To sit in silence, and to know that Hebrew word is yada, Yoda. Little Star Wars reference there for those Star Wars fans, and but yada means to know, or to learn to know, or to perceive, to discern, to discriminate, to discern, to know what is of value, what is of primary value, what is of secondary value, tertiary value, and so on and so on. To distinguish, to make the proper distinctions. So as we go through our process of falling apart and feeling abandoned, we're also invited to sit still, to be still, to sit and to be quiet, to remain in silence, to be still, and to know, to learn, to perceive, to discriminate, to distinguish, to discern, to know by experience. And there's going to be a tremendous knowledge, a gaining of knowledge and of understanding and understanding of yourself through this process of spiritual crisis that will just, it can and it ought to elevate your thoughts and your ideas, to elevate your perceptions, as it should for all of us, right? The transformation process, the caterpillar is earthbound. It transforms, and the butterfly can be on earth, it can remain on earth, or it can fly at will, anywhere. It's free. So this process ultimately is for our emerging, for our birth, and for our elevation, the elevation of our thoughts, minds, intentions, motives, so that we can fly, rise above, transcend, if you will. But first there must be immanence. Before transcendence, there must be immanence. We must be present to the pain and to the process of destruction. We must be present with it, not avoid it, not shun the pain, not hide from it, but to be immanent with it, to be present with our experience, to be present with our life, to be present with our process. Going on with the word yada, to know by experience, as I already read, to recognize, to admit, to acknowledge, to confess, to consider, to declare. So there is a gaining of agency through this process, where we were at once maybe subject to, and we still always are, right? To some degree, absolutely subject to laws and principles. But before we were subject more to the whims of the church and the whims of the high priests of dogma and doctrine, where they dictate and we just comply. We submit. But what were we submitting to before? And what are we choosing to submit to now? Those are distinctions that need to be made, that will be made. If we're going through our process, and if we arrive at, some measure of intelligence and understanding through this process, so that our questions and hence our discoveries will inform our process moving forward, so that we can truly have knowledge through this experience, truly know. That's really tremendous, I find. I find that it's really tremendous. And so, tremendous possibilities here through this painful process, tremendous possibilities of birth and discovery, of self-awareness, and a new awareness of the oneness of all. It's really a grand and majestic possibility that emerges, and it's all contained within you. Doesn't it say in the Christ teachings, the kingdom of heaven is within you? The kingdom of heaven is within all. That principle of heaven, that principle of oneness is within all of us. Now, how to become aligned with it and to operate, to be in and operate in harmony with it, that's what this experience of spiritual crisis is inviting us to. And that's what it is ultimately, our spiritual crisis and everything falling apart for us, and the death of self, the lower self, the death of identity that we once held to, the death of the community, the family, the fellowship that we once belonged to. The death of all of that is an invitation to something so beautiful, something so beautiful. Just like, again, the mother giving birth to the child, going through all the labor pains. And why? Because something is emerging, a new life is emerging. An extension of, an expansion of, an expression of love, life, the oneness. So I just wanted to leave you with that again for more encouragement. And ultimately that's what it's all about, right? It's for us to help one another, to bless one another. And that's why I created this channel, Imago Spiritual Learning and Wellness, is to bless and to help. So if you care to give a like, subscribe, I would love to do this full time and be able to make my living this way. It would be just tremendous. I always wanted to be a priest since childhood, because I always wanted to be close to God, is how I put it in my 5-year-old mind. And I was really clear on that. And now I've come to discover that Creator and I are one. And you and Creator are one. And you and I are one. We're all one. So like, subscribe, and I have a couple of links also, other ways that you can support. I have a self-published book on Amazon, Of Silence of Soul. It's a book of poetry, kind of spiritually minded, mystically minded. And also visit my site, buddhafly.com, where I have garments with messages on them, like the truth I seek, I am, and many others that hopefully will resonate with you. And I feel funny. I feel I feel a little bit I don't know, a little bit, a little bit. I feel awkward within myself, kind of, saying these things, this pitch at the end. But to be able to follow our passion, what we love, and to be able to make a living at it is just tremendous. Like think of like professional athletes or entertainers or where their dream was to be at that level where they now find themselves, playing baseball, football, basketball, singing, dancing, performing for audiences, and they're following their love, their passion, and they're able to earn a living doing so. And that's the only reason why I share that. So that's all. And if you do, and if you choose not to, that's fine. That's fine. I pray that you're blessed by the sharing going on here, and if you feel so blessed, then share with others. And until we speak again, eternal blessings to you and to all that pertains to you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me here at Imago Spiritual Learning and Wellness. Thank you and blessings.